Nos hemos desplazado hasta el centro de Madrid, estamos en la calle Almagro, en el Club Monteverde. Vamos a hacer una entrevista, desde luego, muy especial. Contamos con Roger Ibbotson, es profesor emérito en práctica de finanzas en la administración de Yale, muy conocido por algunas de sus inversiones, sobre todo las inversiones de low popularity, y precisamente eso es lo que vamos a tratar durante los siguientes minutos, por motivo de la presentación de un fondo de GVC Baesco, también con la empresa de la que es presidente, el propio Roger, Zebra Capital Management, y vamos a tratar todas estas cuestiones de la mano de un gran profesional. ¿Qué tal, Robert? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I want to ask you about the low popularity. Why is it a good time to invest in small caps in the United States?
Well, it's a good time. Actually, long term, less popular stocks outperform. Actually, they outperform with less risk. And now is a particularly good time because we've just had a strong wave of high performance of the most popular stocks. And this sort of reminds me of a colleague of mine at Yale, Robert Shiller, who wrote a book, Irrational Exuberance. And after you have this big surge, basically that's probably the best time to buy the less popular stocks. Actually, less popular stocks, the prices are relatively much more attractive than the more popular stocks, especially today.
We are talking about the low popularity investment, and I want you to explain us what is exactly the low popularity investments.
Well, in general, this is somewhat surprising. People are mostly want to buy the most popular stocks. These are the stocks that are in the news. These are the stocks that everybody talks about. These are the stocks with the highest trading volume and so forth. But because of all that interest in those stocks, these most popular stocks actually have a lot of excess demand. And if you don't change the cash flows and you raise the demand, you actually are increasing the price of these stocks and lowering the returns. It turns out that, somewhat, I guess, surprisingly and counterintuitively, that the best returns actually come from the less popular stocks, because these are the stocks that people really don't even recognize or don't talk about and so forth. And they actually, for the same kind of cash flows, they pay a much lower price for these stocks, and they end up with much higher returns. So in general, you want to go against the crowd, you want to go against the sentiment, and of course it's a hard thing to do because people get swept up in the sentiment, but it's actually the opposite that actually has the higher returns.
I want to ask you too about the small cap risk premium. What is it?
When was what?
The small cap risk premium.
Yeah, well, the small cap risk premium really was discovered back in 1980. Rolf Bonds was one of my students actually at the University of Chicago at the time when I was a professor there, and now I'm a professor at Yale, of course. But he discovered the small cap premium, and I guess I've been studying the small cap premium ever since then. So over the last 43 years, I've been studying small caps. So the premium was first noticed a long time ago, but there are a lot of subtleties in how to manage it and so forth, and generally it's had a much higher return even after this discovery. Some things that get discovered, they only work up until the time that they're discovered, but small caps have actually had higher performance over these since discovery, and certainly over the long term, small caps have done really well.
Roger, we were talking about the fund with GVC Gaesco. I want you to explain us what is it, how is it composed, and what is the peculiarity of this fund?
Okay, so our fund, the U.S. Small Cap Fund with Gaesco, we actually mix the popularity with the fundamentals. So we actually buy stocks that have strong fundamentals and have less popular. That combination. So that combination is particularly effective in the small cap arena because small caps, well, there are times when small caps do really well and small times when they don't do well. But it turns out that if you buy the fundamentally strong small caps, when they do poorly, when small caps do poorly, these companies that do the worst are the ones that have some weak fundamentals, but whereas the ones with the strong fundamentals actually do quite a bit better. So this mixture of fundamentals, strong fundamentals, and less popular is particularly effective. It's actually effective across all kinds of stocks, but it's especially effective in the small cap field because so many of the small cap stocks, first of all, lose money. About 40% of them have negative earnings, but you're generally avoiding those kind of stocks here for us. And then so many of the small stocks are not recognized at all. You know, people don't know anything about them. They're underinvested in. There's insufficient demand for them. And so it's a great arena really to invest in the U.S. small cap space here because using the less popular, strong fundamental group is potentially really, really strong. In the small cap space, both high fundamentals really outperform and less popular really outperforms. And that combination is a great combination to outperform the benchmarks.
Roger, we are not in a good economical situation around the world, but when you tell us some opportunities, there is still some investments opportunities?
Well, there definitely is some investments, and I'll give you an example of a stock we would buy and a stock that we would avoid. One of them is the one that we would buy would be Franklin Electric, and one that we would not buy would be Nikola. And both of these stocks are named after inventors. The Franklin Electric is named after Benjamin Franklin. It was started in the 1940s, and it's investing in pumps and infrastructure that move the water around and move the fuel around. Actually, very important infrastructure projects. But despite the fact that this is a really important company, people just don't even think about it because you don't think about where your water's coming from. You know, you don't think about that sort of thing. Meanwhile, Nikola is investing in batteries and trying to build battery electric-powered trucks and charging stations and things like that. And of course, that's what everybody's always talking about. And consequently, the turnover rates, the trading is extraordinarily high in Nikola. And what it means, though, is the prices get really bid up. And meanwhile, everybody kind of forgets about Franklin Electric, where even though it's actually a bigger company and has solid earnings, and actually it's done very well. The Nikola has had scandals actually because they exaggerated when the products would be ready. They were actually indicted and convicted of fraud and so forth. So it's a company that's part of an extreme example, but it's a company you want to avoid. You want to avoid the company that has really been over talked about, overemphasized, because that's what people have overinvested in, and you got to avoid those. That's probably the biggest part of how our strategy works. If you avoid those kind of companies, you've done a big part of accomplishing everything, and basically investing in the solid companies that are overlooked.
The last question, Roger. There is a lot of people, you know, talking about the recession, the stagflation. What do you think about this? The economical situation is so bad?
Well, I think obviously we care about inflation and we care about the economy, and actually a recession has definitely hurt small cap stocks. You know, on the good side though, our strategy, we have to think of which type of stocks get hurt in the recession. It's actually the companies that typically don't have any earnings, that are on the cusp of trying to get their capital and so forth. Those are the companies that are the small cap companies that are most hurt by inflation and ultimately then high interest rates and a weak economy. We actually are not investing in those kind of companies. So we are investing in small caps. Small caps do get hurt by recessions, no question about it, by high interest rates. But small caps, but the investment of the part of the small caps that we invest in, the fundamentally strong companies, they're not the ones that are hurt by these recessions.
Well, thanks for this interview, Roger. It's a pleasure and nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you. Great to be here.